It's tough, that shift from external to internal when you talk about doing the work, and that's thrown around a lot, I think. And a lot of people are like, what the hell does it mean to do the work? Like,
Mm,
what do I really need to do and cultivate within myself to do the work? And to me, this is deeply rooted in the awakening concept, which was
yeah.
actually more for me about that shift from external based living to focusing on the life behind the eyes. Like, really, what coming up within me that I need to look at, and where have I like closed the door on it and said, you know what? No, like, we're going to keep going because we're not looking at that right now. So that was something that was a huge transition for me after I had what I call my awakening, which was more so about I can't unsee these patterns. Like,
Hmm.
it was like all the shit just plopped in my lap, and I was like, whoa, what is going on? And what is the role that I'm playing in it? And when we can take, like, to me, part of the work is taking radical accountability for the fact that typically what's happening in our lives externally is mirroring some kind of belief internally. And that's not to bypass the serious traumas and the intense stuff that's happening around us every single day. It's really to reclaim the power and say, what's my relationship with this external stimuli, right? Like,
Yeah.
where am I going with that? And for me, in that series of years of just running, when I finally did leave my career, I would say, as I knew it then, I had this moment where, and this is part of the intuitive side of the conversation. And for anybody listening, this doesn't mean that you need to have a psychic prediction on what happens next year in your life. This is about signaling an opening. And for me, intuition is deeply tied to curiosity. So even asking the question or signaling within your own being, show me what I was meant to learn in this thing that I'm emerging from. I started asking questions to whatever your belief is of higher power. For me, it is that direct connection to creator of like, okay, my higher self, the version of me that is calling me towards whatever I know I'm destined
Hmm.
to. I need to ask her some questions because I am not getting it, right? And then what happens is, instead of like rushing in to fill that answer, you put it out there, and you can't cling on to the expectation that there's an answer. Once you just put it out and you say, just show me however that shows up, then you pay attention with curiosity. It could show up as a book. It could show up as a conversation. It can show up as a feeling. For me, what started to emerge in my intuitive space was I was shown patterns. It was like I was almost like seeing a movie within my mind, where I was watching my life as like a playwright, right?
Mm.
It was like acting itself out, and I was like, there's a common denominator that was happening that like linked all the way back for me. And once you see it, that's the awakening part of like, it breaks up the pattern. You don't even need to know how it's happening. It just starts to.
Yeah, I had mine. I had mine in 2023. So I am still very much new to a lot of this stuff. Um, but the reason I feel like the strong reason why I was able to get there and to learn all the stuff that I know now so quick
Mm-hmm.
is because I did leave and I started my own thing, and then I was matched with people who were in the community who were spiritual. I had never met anybody really like spiritual other than going to church. I had never met anybody who knew any sort of other things like Reiki or energy work or
Mm-hmm.
witchcraft or like shaman, like none of that stuff. So when I met these people, and I'm a sponge, right? So I
Right.
would just take from what they were saying and be like, that's interesting. Okay, that
Mm.
makes sense. And then I
Mm-hmm.
would kind of like what we do when we talk to people, when we're talking about our stories, like everything isn't going to resonate. But with that one thing, like that sounds like
Yes.
something.
Yes.
And so I started meeting these people. And then one day, this YouTube video, I just had gotten so bad. And this was before I even left the police department. Like I was still kind of one toe in, one toe out. I was working part
Mm-hmm.
time. And then I saw this video, and it was like, if you're feeling X, Y, and Z, like turn on this video. It was just on YouTube. And it was a whole video about like spiritual awakening and like the different phases that this video had outlined. And I was like, holy shit, I'm there. Like I'm
Yeah.
complete, like going through a complete, like that was like my first
Yeah.
like experience. But again, I would not have met any of these people or any of this side of life had I not taken those
Yeah.
chances on
Yeah.
myself too.
That first transition into this new space is a very vulnerable space. And I want to talk about that for anybody that might be in that space now, because I don't think there's really a lot of conversation about what can happen during that time. And you brought up the word resonance. And I think that's going to be the theme of this conversation from my perspective, is when we are like sponges and we're seeing this new way of living and our relationship with ourselves and the world around us, there's like this richness that starts to develop that could be tied to feeling deeper meaning in life. And we are curious, right? We're on this path. We start experiencing all these new people and these new modalities. And very quickly, what can happen is we're once again putting a lot of power in something external. So whether it's a healing modality or feeling like we need to go somewhere to experience this thing, it's important to remember that we're not able to experience that thing if that ability didn't live within us. So for me, I will say that I was very susceptible to wanting to find my people and wanting to find community of like-mindedness where I felt like I could explore these topics. And at the time, it was like part of myself bypassed the fact that whomever's in that room is still having a human experience. Like it can be very easy to put people on pedestals in this space, I would say, because there might be that person that shows up as this teacher for you. And so when that happens, I know for me, like I put a lot of stock in what this person was saying, and it was really resonating with me. So when it feels like a yes, and you're like, yes, right? We have the capacity. And honestly, it became like maybe a little naive. I'm a skeptical person by nature. I am curious. I like to say, okay. But at that time, it was so new to me. I was just like gobbledygook. I was eating it up. I was like, nom, bitches. Like, I'm going in here like, oh, yeah, I want to try this. I want to do this. Now I have like 16 appointments on my calendar, and people are like, what the heck is that thing called? And I'm like, I'm just like throwing money at it, right?
Yeah.
So that became almost like a bypassed continuation of what running felt like for me, because it was like the next shiny object. And the next shiny object shit for me, I've learned now, it took me a decade. I mean, it's been 10 years, maybe 12 years since I really had that moment of awakening. And there's micro awakenings every day. Like there's so many opportunities. The work's never done.
Right.
But when you're entering into that space of expansion and your consciousness, like your relationship with your consciousness and your intuition, all these things start to show up. Remember that your power lives in discernment. It lives in trusting yourself, that if somebody's saying something to you and it doesn't feel like it resonates, that's cool. It's no judgment. It's just, I'm going to keep it pushing. Or even if something does feel like a big time yes and totally resonates and change your life, remember not to put it on a pedestal, because then we can get ourselves in that same situation. It's reliant on something outside of ourselves to make us happy. And that will always fall. It will always fall off.
But it is so hard. And this space is so hard to find where your footing can be, because a lot of us go through this side of life not really having anything to connect to. I didn't have anything, religion, culture to connect to growing up. So this was a very vulnerable space for me. But I do have to say, like, it's because I was able to just take my gut feelings and follow them. And that's how I found the footing. But so in this space, what could you recommend for people besides like listening to our podcast, of course? Where should they start? Where do you think they should start with, like, if they do feel like they're maybe not in the right space, if they're not in the right career path, and they feel called to kind of learning about this?
I think back to what was going on for me during those moments. And if I was to go back and talk to her, what I would say is, remember that what's showing up for you is information. It's data points. It's connected to something deeper, but be mindful of when that information shows up, or you're really ready for this change, it can feel like a craving, right? So in that, remember to pay attention to your internal narrative. And here's a very practical thing that you can do when it comes to this, that I literally did if I used to be taking my walks and was doing this shit on my walks. And if you would drive by, you'd be like, what is this crazy bitch doing? She is just like having this whole conversation with herself. And no, like, I'm not on the phone, y'all. I am just like Okay. I didn't realize how much I was looping thoughts that didn't serve me. And so here's what this can look like, because it can keep you stuck. It can keep you in shackles around what you're actually trying to break free from, is rumination on all the ways that something isn't serving you. So when that thing is consistently showing up in the environment, our brain's like, here it is again, here it is again, here it is again. So we don't actually have space to start rewiring our relationship with self. So if I was to boil it down to one word, it would be notice. To notice is to create awareness that we are not our thoughts. So what this looked like for me, and a mentor at the time is the one that brought this tool up, and I was like, interesting, and you can't unsee it once you start doing it, is I would pay attention to the thoughts that were showing up for me. And this can show up whether it's your relationship with your work, your relationship with your body, with a partner, with whatever. I started noticing all the ways that I was staying in the problem by my thought pattern. And so what I would do is I would interrupt it. I would notice it and I would interrupt it. And my one-liner was, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. I'm okay. Not going to be able to change this right now. I can see it's not serving me, but I also realize how addicted I am to fixating on the problem. The solution cannot show up there. So notice and observe and interrupt. You don't need to know what to do next. What we do when we stay in this space is to create awareness of what we're doing to ourselves. That is the process that's like the first domino that starts to open up more space of what the next thought is that you want that to be. Or how do I create space if I don't have any up here? So it really is a mental game at first. And I think noticing without judgment is really important. So also at the end of the day, like I would be like, oh my God, I did this 50 times today. And then I would start shaming myself. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, why do I keep doing this? That isn't what we're going for either, because it really is like, we can be assholes to ourselves. Absolutely. And even when we notice the pattern, if it isn't one that we want to carry forth, it doesn't take long for our brain to be like, see, you're doing it again. And we like chalk it off as humor, but have grace for yourself. So notice and have grace. Just start there, because that's going to really show you a lot about what's at play.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I found myself doing it too when I was in the fashion show last weekend. It's like immediately, your brain goes to, oh my God.
Talk, first of all, I'm not worthy. I am not worthy. Let's talk. So let's pivot. Let's pivot from, we always like to weave in the deep shit with the good shit. And right now, like, I just need to acknowledge the fact that my girl got up on a runway, looked freaking fabulous. I was front row fangirling, like, that's my boo. I'm like feeling like I'm out at the club again, like 40 years old, starting to yawn because I cannot hang. I'm like, get me my club soda and my lemon. But you were up there. And I think this is important for many reasons. But first, I want to acknowledge your power in this, because you are somebody that, even if fear comes up, you're like, I'm doing this. Like, I'm getting after this. And I think this happens to a lot of people where, like, from the untrained eye, like, if I didn't know you, I would be like, she is owning it and she is in her full confidence with this. But what happens inside can sometimes be a very different experience. So do you want to share what came up for you during this sleigh day?
Yeah, this is crazy. So I am just a little like preface to this. I'm totally someone who, especially in this season, if I see something that interests me, I'm just going to do it, because I believe that life is meant to be experienced, and I don't want to leave having any doubts or any, damn, I wish I would have, because no, that doesn't live here in the space for me. So when I was in Florida this year, my brother came to visit me, and, he was kind of going through a little bit of a tough time, and he didn't really know what he wanted to do, but he started talking about, like, I want to get into modeling. So I connected him with some of my people back here in New York when he came back, and he actually made the fashion show over at Proctor's Theater back in January. And this kind of rolls into our other story with good old Bear. But I was actually supposed to fly back to see him, and there was an instance that happened that we'll get into later, but I couldn't make it. So he ended up doing the fashion show, and then a casting call actually came out a couple months ago on Mother's Day. And it was like, we're casting for this next fashion show. My brother was like, hey, I'm going to do this. And I said, me too. Yeah. I said, I'm going to go with you. And so we did the casting call together, and I didn't have any expectations besides, I just wanted to try it to see what a casting call looked like, just to like see what it felt
No
like, what it
expectations
was.
is a great place to be. Not gonna
No
lie.
expectations. I was like,
Yeah.
well, do I really want, like, am I like, oh my God, I want to walk in this fashion show? Like, this would be, no, like, I didn't really have any thought behind it other than I just want to experience
curious.
whatever I can, right? So I went in there, and it was at Best Fitness in Schenectady, and they took the group X room, and Mel, who was the producer, was sitting at a table, and you had to walk a catwalk to his music. They put
we love cats.
we do. We love cats. So you put a number, and you fill out this form. You put in a number on your shirt, so that they know whose number is who. So when they're casting, they know who's going to what designer and who they're taking, who they're not. So I became a number for a minute.
Okay. Do we remember the number? Because we love us some numbers.
I think it was 0012.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up. Look it up after.
Yeah, I think so. So. And then my brother, I think he was 13. So it was like, yeah, I think so.
We'll get into numerology on another show. So keep rolling.
Yeah. So we, get there and everything. And, we sign the number. My brother goes before me. We're also there with two other people that happen to come like at the same time as us. And so they go, and I'm watching them, and I'm like, okay, like, this is, I had not practiced or like done anything, mind you. I was just cold turkey, raw dog, and going to this casting call and just.
That's the best way, bitches.
It's going, right? So I go there, and I had to bring black heels and just wear all black. So that's what I did. I had my heels on. He turned on the music, and I go to walk the catwalk, right? And so I'm walking with attitude. And of course, my first walk, the freaking song goes off. So I'm walking pure silence, and you can hear me click, clacking it. No, and everybody's like, no, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Because I think of like the 0.5 seconds I was in theater, and it's like, well, if something happens, you just keep going, and like, you don't let anybody know that anything goes wrong, right?
That's life. Like, all right, we just got to keep on.
So I did that, and we had Mother's Day brunch after, and I was just kind of like, oh, that was fun. I didn't expect anything out of it. So a couple days later, I got an email saying that I had been casted for the fashion show, and I was like, okay. What do I do now?
We're in here. I'm like,
all right, cool. They give you what you should pack in your bag and things like that. And now I have a whole list of on top of that list, because there's so many other things that I am going to bring if I ever do this again. So they give you the list, and then I had hair and makeup, and I had to show up there at 11. And the show wasn't until 7:30.
That's when I started getting ready too.
I was like, oh my God. So I had pure.
Today's the day.
I had a pure face of makeup with like fake lashes, and I never wear like anything more than fake just a little bit of time. I like.
Yeah. And then you rub, I'm like such an eye rubber too.
Oh my God.
My eyelashes like on my forehead. I've only worn it like twice. And
so I'm not the type of person who wears a lot of makeup. Again, I'm like a tinted moisturizer, a little bit of mascara. I'm good to go.
I woke up with this.
Yeah, I'm just like not, I don't waste too much time on my makeup. So when I was sitting there for an hour, and then I had to go the entire day with a face full of makeup to like not touch it, to not.
Your makeup was on point though. So whoever your makeup artist was.
Rosie. She was phenomenal.
Shout out to Rosie.
Rosie Cruz.
I mean, your face is already phenomenal, but we were putting some frosting on that bitch because they look good.
She hooked the girl up. No, Rosie Cruz, she is freaking phenomenal. But yes, I met my designer. When you are casted for these fashion shows, you don't know what you're wearing. I want to preface that, okay?
I feel like that would destroy me.
So I was like, okay,
I'm particular about the fit.
Well, me too. But, I was just like, it was another thing of I'm letting it happen. I always am the type of person who likes to take control of the situation and likes to know everything. But I was like, you know what? I'm just like, this is a perfect opportunity for me to not have any control, because I don't know. I don't know. This isn't my space.
Yeah.
And this isn't my space, right? So like, they know what they're doing. They see my body, they were making whatever for me. Cool, whatever. I'm just going to go out there and wear it.
I want it to look good too. Yeah.
What I didn't know was I was going to be on the fashion show, the longest freaking runway that I'd ever seen in my life.
No steps in. You are getting no steps in.
No bra, with a cutout.
Hey, I didn't wear a bra to my wedding, so I understand.
Well, listen. So I get put. I mean, it is a phenomenal outfit, and it really, really, really got me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, you were
but
like a peacock, boo. I saw your little flip. I saw your little flip at the end. I was like, okay.
Well, so immediately
we have footage of that. We have to. I need the flip. I need the flip. So I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, it was just like, and so they only had us do one dry run through. So like we only got like one chance to, do it. And I had only been in one designer outfit. So I only had one chance at this. It's like, of course, after you get done, you're like, oh my God, I wish I did this. I wish I did that. I should have done this.
Everything. Right. And I was like, no, we are. So I was in the audience like,
yeah, it was. So I did it. I learned a lot from it. But as soon as I put the outfit on, I was like, I'm wearing this. Okay. And yeah, I like just immediately started to go into doubt mode. I came out and everybody was like, oh my God, it looks so, you look so good. It looks so beautiful. Oh, rock, da, da, da. But like the little voice in me was like, oh my God, like you can see my back rolls. You can fucking see my like tits. Like I don't look good in this. And so a lot of that stuff just kind of came out. And by the time I even got to walk on the runway, so I had put this outfit on at probably like 12 o'clock. Mm-hmm. To see what it looks like.
But you weren't in it the whole time.
No.
I was
so like, put it on to see.
Destroyed it. Makeup, everything.
Yeah. So you put it on to see like what it looks like and stuff like that, and to get fitted and all that good stuff. Because my designer had her sewing kit. She had her like ironing board, like all that shit. So if there was anything that needed to be done, she knew what she was doing.
She was on it. What was the designer's name?
Basia Designs.
Basia. What a beautiful line. It was resort wear, right?
Resort wear, yeah.
And was she the one that came out with the baby at the end?
Yes, yeah. She has like
every part of my being melted. I'm like, what a queen! First of all,
she was
and the
phenomenal.
Sweet Baby headset on. I was like, this is everything.
Yeah,
so
her husband was there the whole day too, which was just like, it was such a cool thing to see.
Supportive, yeah.
But yeah, I met so many cool people. I had such a good time, but I was in this, I put the outfit on at 12, and then like from 12 to that like 7 o'clock, I was just marinating and, oh my God, like I look fat. Like this isn't flattering. Like what am I going to do?
Thoughts, man. There's
oh my God.
Out of like the present moment so quick.
Yeah. So like I felt those coming in, and like I'm not gonna lie, like because that was something so new to me, and I felt so vulnerable in that position that I was like, man, I haven't heard these guys in a while. So it kind of did like take a little bit of spark out for me, and then just like. And then you get into thinking, oh my God, what's the crowd going to think of me? They're going to start saying this. They're going to start talking about.
It's off to the races.
It just starts and it goes, and it's like,
yeah.
Man.
And for any when we're starting anything new, and we'll stick with our tarot theme with the Fool card, because the Fool is a good one, because it's when we try something new. No matter what it is, no matter how confident you think you are, like imposter syndrome lives in here because we don't realize how quickly doubt can come in. And when it comes in, it's like, where is it taking over? Where is it bringing out of our presence? Where is it bringing us out of our energy? Because it's constricted and it's part of it. And so like, for me, I remember feeling like, okay, this is part of my process. When this shows up, I observe it. And what am I telling myself right now? Like, would I say this to my bestie? Like the belief wouldn't even be there. Like it wouldn't even show up. So we need to remember to talk to ourselves the same way we would talk to Bestie Boo. That's it.
Absolutely.
That's it.
And that day before I even left to go there, I pulled some cards, and the cards, actually the deck that you got me, which I'll have to break out and show.
How do the cool kids do hearts now? It's not this anymore. It's my daughter said it's a different one.
I got them right here, actually.
There it is, my green witch.
I'm obsessed with this fucking deck.
Our nature goddess, Gina.
But I pulled cards, and it just kept telling me like, this is bigger than you. Yeah. And so I really had to just kind of like lean into that. Like there had been no other plus size models on that runway besides me. And even from the last year. And I don't think it was like anything that was on purpose or that he wasn't having. I just think that a lot of plus size model, if it's not marketed that way, right? You have Curvention, which is like a huge event with like curvy models. But a lot of people don't think that they can be a model or like have this skill set because they're not like this perfect figure.
For sure. Yeah.
Right.
I would be in that space of like, how do I know the outfits are going to fit me? It's like the softball helmet. Like if that shit isn't fitting, I'm not going at bat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of just what I had to like lean into throughout this experience was, okay, I just have to take it as it is, and I'm just doing it because it's similar to when you flew out of the plane. So when you flew out of the plane, it's similar to your skydiving experience.
Oh my God, when I like my pantalones, yes.
Of like, you're doing it for something that's bigger than
This
you.
is not about me. I got to get out of the way. Like
yes.
I come back to what you said earlier about, I was pondering this one day where I was like, you know, everyone's so big. I'm like, what's my purpose in this lifetime? Being human, like the purpose of being human is experiential in nature. It's to experience life. It's to experience your emotions. It's to have this way to like create tangible form around the lived experience. Yes. And there is that fine line of like, okay, what is my motivator for doing it? And in that moment, very similar to you, when I went skydiving, I was like, I left my body. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? I might go into cardiac arrest. I don't know what's happening. I'm never doing this again. I can't even go on like the swings at Great Escape where you're like, you know, it used to be like the granny ride. Now I'm up there like, I'm going to throw up. And I never used to be that way. But when I saw some, because I was doing it for Make-A-Wish, and when I saw some of the Make-A-Wish recipients in that plane with me, this is like their 6th time doing it. I'm like, this is not about me. Get out of your own way. Like, getting out of your own way is a surrender in and of itself, where it's like, no, like I'm just, let's go. I'll never do it again though. Never.
And
no, we're done here.
That's really what I had to put my mindset into was like, yes, cool. This is something that I am experiencing. And did I take everything from that experience? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But if there was like a little plus size girl or a little, you know, girl who wasn't, you know, confident about her body, and I showed up on stage and she was like, oh shit, she's doing the damn thing. Like I can do this too. Right. I was like, oh, I thought I was going to be wearing sweatpants. And I go in, and of course it's resort wear. And I'm like, oh, man. Can't make this shit up, man. But, I mean, you think of anything, right? And that's why representation really does matter in all spaces. Because when you are able to just see someone else who looks like you or someone else who has, like, a similar body type, you're more inclined to you're more inclined to try it or to, you know, like be confident in doing so. And so that's really, I didn't know that going into it, of course, but that was my main reason for being there. So,
and that's beautiful. When we have a reason that's bigger than ourselves and we realize that that's creating a potential ripple, like we said, as individuals, if we're sitting in that audience and we don't see somebody that looks like it's representing us in some way, we're already in our head about all the reasons why we don't think we can do it. So if there isn't that level of representation, it's automatically like, nope, see. But when you see it, it's like, oh, like maybe this is for me. The what ifs come in, the curiosity comes back online. So that's the part where like our relationship with external cues is important. Like, yeah, we don't want to live by everything externally, but our relationship with the world around us is incredibly important. And there's information being exchanged all the time. So when you get out of your own way and you signal like there's a bigger purpose here. This is for like younger me. If younger me was sitting in that audience and saw me, would be like, yes, like I can do that. And I am proud to say that I did it. And I just think that's freaking amazing. I know I had a good time watching. I was in there.
I'm glad. I feel like
definitely in there.
I feel like this like part of my life is just doing the things that I wish I had growing up, right? And I wish I had that safety. I wish I had that support. I wish I had that representation. I wish I had some of the programs that I'm building, that we're building. Like, all of this stuff is just here for a bigger reason. And I think that I get so caught up sometimes with being the, like, yes, it's me, right? And I'm aware of how my body is. I'm aware of how I look. I'm aware of all these things, but it's
And
not for me directly in this moment. It's for something bigger. And that's what I would just encourage people to like look at that bigger picture. If you're doing something, if you're meant to do something, it might not be a like, you know, don't make it a you thing. Make it a bigger than you thing and make it like, who can I impact? Who am I going to impact by doing this? Because
yep,
as soon as I put that into perspective, I was just like, all
it
that shit went
changes.
away.
It
I was
changes
like, you know
everything.
what?
Like, who am I to get in the way
I'll get.
of this? Yeah. And I think that's like a really good theme to end on, is creating the thing that you wished existed. And sometimes that means that we got to go first. And when you're the first person to take that step, at least in terms of like when you look around you and you want to create this thing, it doesn't exist. And I want to talk on the next episode, I want to talk about what it feels like to transition and be like, you're trying to find your place and it doesn't exist. So it's like, holy shit, I think I'm meant to create this.
Yeah.
Then what? So being that first domino is no joke, but when you can point back to the higher purpose, the higher power, the higher mission that says, this isn't about me, this is about leaving a legacy of some kind or creating something that I wished existed, so that that younger me would be like, here it is. Because that's, other people are going to step into this environment that was created that have no idea that those founding steps, those first steps of creating whatever it was, there's always doubt of some kind. There is always things that come up individually that says, who am I to do this? And you are everything to do this. We're dropping the fucking mic.